Daniela, welcome. And I would like to ask you if you can just share with us a little tiny bit about how Matrix Reimprinting has changed your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I have this passion for children, and I expected that I would have a basketball team of my own, but that's not what happened. I ended up losing 4 babies, but God brought us a beautiful 5-year-old child that we adopted in '09. And when he came to us at 5 years old, he had been tortured and abused. And he's my favorite story. He's a terrific, terrific little gift from heaven. But he did come with so many issues. He had PTSD and skin and digestive issues and phobias and all kinds of things. And you know, when you have a birth child that you've raised, they might have 1 or 2 things out of whack when they're 5 that you're working on. But when you have a little guy like this little guy come in with all that history, it's really difficult to find a beginning point. So we just lots and lots of love and lots of good nutrition. And that's where Matrix Reimprinting enters too. Some of the traumas, I've seen this in some of my clients, especially the boys or males, when they're really, really young and they're very, very powerless. And not only themselves, but other people that they love are threatened. They develop this little capsule of violence, you know. And if it doesn't get addressed when they're little, it's really scary things can happen when they're big, you know. So some of the sessions that we did with him, he's so tiny and so precious, and we had to play a game, you know, like we were going to do time travel or whatever, you know. I'd make up a game and he'd sit with me, and I remember one time specifically, it was kind of for him one of those things where it broke the camel's back. And it didn't seem like a big thing, but it wasn't the thing, you know. It was the thing for him that broke the camel's back. And in his history, there's some things that we can talk about, like just severe beating by many, many people at one time for the fun of it, and different things like that. But there's a lot of things that we can't even say, you know, that happened to him. They're that bad. You just don't even talk about them. So this particular situation was refusal of food. And just for him, it was the catalyst kind of that for that moment. And we worked on that situation, and it was pretty graphic. And I've seen that too, that in the little guys that I work with, the echoes, that they tend to want justice, and they tend to want to make things right. So we worked on this, and when we were done, he gave me this sigh and this really angelic little expression, and he just wrapped his arms around my waist and just laid on my lap. And this little look of bliss, you know, and this just emptiness of all that intensity. And I said, okay, now we need to test and see if there's anything left that bothers you. Okay, so we're going to go back in, and we're going to, you know, and he looks up at me and he goes, what were we talking about?
Oh my God!
I know. That was the most awesome thing. What were we talking about? So I had to remind him what we were talking about. He goes, oh, no, it's good. It was just so cute. It was so cute. So we've used Matrix on him. And of course, he's learned, and he does EFT on himself. And I know that we need to work on something if he brings it up and then he brings it up a couple more times. I know that it's kind of churning. So either I'll say, let's go do a session. And most of the time he'll say, I already worked on it. I'm okay. So he tells me that a lot. Well, yeah, it's pretty funny. And it's really hilarious because the other day we were talking, and I used the word but as rear end. And he said, Mama, that word really offends me. And I don't like that word. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, just to say it. And I clarified what offends him, and just don't say it at all. He doesn't like that word. And I'm like, okay, I won't use it then if it offends you. He goes, oh, I just earned myself a session, didn't I? I'm like, no, you're good. It was so hilarious. So it's been really a blessing. My husband and I have taken children in for 25 years that just had a lot of wounds and a lot of trauma. And a lot of the kids that have parents that are that are into drug abuse and alcoholism, their kids end up being not just neglected, but there's no supervision, and they end up watching movies and being exposed to things with no community around them to be able to regulate it. And it's things they probably shouldn't even be watching at really young ages anyway. So I see in a lot of these children phobias, like unbelievable phobias. And it's been really beautiful to work. I had one girl that lived with us for a while. She was 12, and she was absolutely terrorized of mirrors. She had a phobia to mirrors because demons come out of them, and her dad was obviously having a bad trip, and he saw demons, and just on and on. So that was her association with mirrors, and it was really awesome to work with her with that. I had another young boy, 14 years old, that had a spider phobia. If he walked into a room and saw a spider in the corner of the room, he'd scream and run out. And so it was really great. We worked on that, and he gave the spiders cute little boots and decorated them and did all kinds of fun things. And the next week he came to my house, and I live in the country, and there was a spider on a t-shirt on the sofa, a big one, like a big, I don't know, they're just really good sized spiders here. And he picked the t-shirt up with the spider and threw the spider outside. It was just real, yeah, it was just amazing. So I love the deliverance, really the deliverance, the resolution that this can give to children who already have just stacks and stacks of things to work through. I don't know of anything that could be as gentle, as quick, and as permanent as Matrix Reimprinting. I absolutely love it.
Wow. How old was your son when he came to you, Danielle?
He was 5.
And how old is he now?
He just turned 5. He's 13.
Wow.
And he's a gem. I really couldn't ask for a better son. He's an absolute gem. So, and I know as he gets older, you know, with an adopted child, every year that every time they go through a developmental stage, they reassess their whole identity, their whole life, what's happened, and they come to a new understanding. It's a long process for them to keep growing. And it's been beautiful because you know, the worst thing you can ever do is speak negative against someone's parent. You never do that. You're just never do that. That creates so much us in them and defense that you'll lose their heart. So we've always had this, you know, never speak negative about his birth mother. And this, I loved her. I met her and I absolutely loved her, just with a love that came from God alone, really. And I tried to support her, and 3 years ago she overdosed and died. Oh. So yeah, leaving 5, well, including him, 5 children. So with all different fathers. So with him, we have this open door. We can say anything. We can, everything's on the table at any given time. Everything's okay to talk about. And I really feel like that's given me entry and rapport with him, you know, to continue working together. And I feel like it just gives him a stability that he doesn't have to choose anything. You know, he doesn't have to choose, and he doesn't have to question whether he was loved, you know, or anything like that. You know, it's just, we just let whatever be, and we just take what's on the table and we deal with it. So, but as he gets older, new things come up that his brain releases, apparently, that he wasn't ready to talk about or deal with. So I think someday I'll probably have someone else help him, because sometimes when you're really close, it's just, you love your mom and you don't want to say anything that would hurt her, you know. And I've really had to work with him not to get, because he's mine. He is mine as much as my birth children are my flesh and blood. He's like my mini me. He is just, you know, he is so mine. And he's very, very open at this point, but I really feel that maybe there'll be a time when it would be in his best interest, you know, and I'll leave that up to him. You know, but I'd love for him to continue this work so that there's nothing that sabotages him as he gets older.
Yeah, and I know that you were saying before we even started recording that he's actually given you permission to share his story, which just is a massive testament to how much he knows that this has helped him.
Yeah, gushing, absolutely gushing approval, you know. And I called him again today. He's visiting his older sister and her family of 5, and I called him again this morning and I told him what I was going to do. And I again asked his permission. He goes, Mom, anything. You can say anything, Mom. Anything you need to say, anything. And he's just so cute. And what that says to me is that he understands everything that happened to him is not about him. That alone is just really miraculous, right? I mean, at his age, to be able to grasp that all that stuff that happened is not about him. It doesn't change his worth, and it doesn't implicate him in any way. It just wasn't about him. And that alone is worth gold, right? I mean, we're all still, I think some of us are still working on that, right?
I was just thinking there's a lot of adults that still haven't got to that part.
Yeah, and he has such a great, really positive outlook on life. I don't know. He's just a really special child, and I'm very, very blessed to be his mother.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing his story with us. I believe that you actually work with Matrix Reimprinting with clients as well. Is there a specific area that you specialize in?
I really am passionate about working with traumatic events and grief. I love it. I love it so much because I have had so much suffering in my own life and pain and trauma, and I've seen what it's done to help me. And really, my one goal in life would be to be able to be the bridge between pain and God, pain and universe, pain and enlightenment, to help people be able to move from that place of so much suffering and hurt to a place where there's freedom and there's joy and there's just an opening and a space that they can move into and become, what they're created to be. So that I love. And, I understand that psychologists and psychiatrists in this country have the highest suicide rate of any occupation. And I know why. I mean, can you imagine talking about the same thing for 15 years and opening cans of worms and not being able to do anything and seeing your clients suffering and then having it transfer onto you and going home with it? I can't even imagine that. But some of my really most difficult trauma cases where it was just unreal. I had my client stop and ask me, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm actually just holding this space of gratitude for you because I'm watching all this energy just literally pour off your body, and I can see you, coming up, and it's actually we're achieving something. You know what I mean? That's a beautiful thing to me. I'm not stuck. With my clients, they always end in a better place than when they came to me on every single session. It's exhilarating. And that's what I love about this. There's never a time that we sit down where they go away the same way that they came. That is so awesome. And it's such a fabulous tool that they can use on their own. And I find that I don't keep my clients very, very long because I really empower them for self-care and expect them to take care of themselves. And I just empower them with so many different tools and things that the recovery is really fast. It's really fast. These tools are amazing. They're really amazing.
Absolutely. I completely hear you, understand you, and find the same thing. So Danielle, I know you're a busy lady because you've got a lot going on in your life, but if somebody was listening to this and was really drawn to wanting to work with you, how would they find you?
The best way is to get a hold of me through email, and my email address is hope.health.freedom@gmail.com.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Daniela, and you're doing such amazing work, especially for your children as well, and of course your own story being transformed with Matrix Reimprinting too. So thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you so much for having me, and I really appreciate the camaraderie on this journey that we're all on, and thank you so much for all that you do. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you, and I hope to see you soon.
Yes, likewise.
Thank you, Daniela.
Thank you. Bye-bye.